What's up, everybody? You're now listening to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate 5 stars, review, and hit the subscribe button on iTunes or anywhere else you get your podcast from. All right, our guest today on the podcast has more accolades than we have time today. He was an NABC Player of the Year, Big 12 Player of the Year, a consensus All-American, and has his jersey hanging in the rafters of the Fieldhouse and Chesapeake Bay Arena. Please welcome to the podcast the only guy to get a standing ovation from Dick Vitale, the legendary Nick Collison. Hey, man, welcome to the pod. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. Yeah.
Well, good. Hey, well, go ahead and fill Jayhawk Nation in, man. What are you doing now, man?
I'm a dad. I have a 15-year-old daughter. I'm in the Kansas City area. I also work for the Thunder in the front office. I've been doing that since I retired. It's been a really good opportunity to stay in the game, learn a lot, and I have some interest in that side of it, and so I'm good, man. I'm enjoying life and still able to be involved in the game and have time for my family as well.
Well, we all know, man. There's no better ambassador for the game of basketball, and obviously I've had the pleasure of playing with you and getting to know you on a personal level, man. So Nick, I just want you to know, man, off script, this is I'm proud of you, man, and I'm definitely curious to see what the future holds for you, man, because it's nothing but greatness that follows you and your kind heart and what you do to kind of help others more than yourself, man. It's just been a pleasure watching your journey, man. I can't wait to continue to watch it, man.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate that. I always just tried to do my thing, but what meant the most to me was respect for my teammates, and so that means a lot to me. And it's good to see you. And when we get this pandemic over, we can get together, have a couple beers or something. It'd be good.
Yes, sir. You know that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the good old days, man. So I just had Mike Lee on the other day, and he talked about the van, man, the college van that you had, the college van. And when I came to my visit, we all piled in the van. When I got to campus as a freshman, we all piled in the van. How long did that van last after you got done with KU?
Well, it didn't make it through KU. My parent is a 1990 Dodge Caravan with wood paneling on the sides.
Yes, sir.
Some of the older listeners might remember those. But I think my mother drove that when I was in high school. I had an even worse car my last year of high school. And then I got the upgrade to the minivan for college. And it was great. I mean, because we had plenty of space. So a lot of the guys didn't have cars, and everyone would pile in my car.
Yep.
And guys would take it to the grocery store. I'd get in the van, and there'd be like some peanut butter that fell out of the bag, or mayonnaise or something that Drew or Kenny Greger or somebody had borrowed my van. But I love that thing. And then on the way to school my junior year, the transmission went out on the drive back from Iowa to Lawrence. The transmission went out, and it was going to cost more to fix than it was worth. And I sold it to the junkyard for $50. And, never saw it again. But
what was the upgrade, man? What did you upgrade to?
I had a Ford Fairmont, which you probably know what it is.
Okay,
it was like
that's okay.
And, so I don't know. I really miss it. I would love to maybe find one and refurbish it and give it to my daughter, but make it safe and reliable. I actually went pretty far down the road. I was in a bar in Nashville once, and they had a Jeep Grand Wagoneer that they cut it and they put it on the wall, and they put bar taps like in the Jeep. Yeah. And I found a minivan just like mine at a junkyard in like Virginia. And I was talking to a guy about how do I put this on my wall in my basement?
Yeah.
And then I got married, and my wife was like, no way. But I went down the road until I got married. And as wives do sometimes, they put an end to our great ideas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, well, man, that van was, man, we went everywhere in that van, man. And I'm always blessed, man, because like I came in as a freshman, man, like always like, you know, most freshmen, they come in and hang out with their freshmen, as I did with the J-Pop with Aaron and Miles and those guys. But I was Kirk's roommate, so, and you guys always hung out together, so you guys I would just tag along, and I got to experience life with how you guys, you know, carried yourselves out in public. So that was all. I mean, I know you never heard this, man, but that was always cool for me, man, because, you know, being a freshman, looking up to you guys, you got to just see, okay, all right, this is how you got to handle yourself when you go out. Okay, be polite. You guys would always sign the autographs. I mean, you guys paved the way, man. And not only from that, like we were able to teach those same manners and we just pass it down to the younger generation, man. So that was always cool, man. Just side note, Nick. But hey, growing up in Iowa, Nick, what made you make the choice to come play for Coach Williams? Because how did Iowa feel about that?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, I was an Iowa Hawkeye fan. My dad, he always had the games on, and I always liked watching the games. A guy named Chris Street was my favorite player, who tragically actually died during the season in a car wreck, and I think it was like '93 or something. But I grew up watching Iowa State, watching whoever was on ESPN. I think as I got further along in high school and started to grow and improve as a player and really started to look at my opportunities to go to college, I was looking at it more on like which programs would be better for me in my career and my future. And, you know, Kansas really stuck out. Obviously a program that had a ton of success, a great coach, a great program. I still considered Iowa and Iowa State. They had coaching changes around that time, which made it a little easier for me to decide. Tom Davis at Iowa was going to coach one more year and retire. So I would have had to wait till after my senior year to know who the coach was going to be. And Tim Floyd left for the Bulls the summer before my senior year. Kirk had committed to Iowa State and backed out of it when Floyd left to the Chicago Bulls. And, you know, I was excited about Kansas. I think in the end, I probably would have chose Kansas anyway. You know, I have this strange connection where Rafe LaFrenz's wife is from my hometown. I'm from a little town, 5,000 people, 4 stoplights. And Rafe met this girl from my town in college. She went to Iowa State. They somehow met. And so Rafe would be in town when I was in like early in high school. Wow. And this woman, she's a woman now. At the time she was, she's one of my sister's friends. Her brother is one of my best friends. So I got to know Rafe a little bit. So we really followed Kansas a lot. And there was my friend Mike was going to go, they were going to go watch a game early in the year. It was like one of the like first games in November, and they wanted to get an extra ticket so Mike could bring me his buddy to the game. They were working on his ticket, and Mike's dad was like, well, Nick is getting recruited by some of these schools. Can we call him a prospect? And they're like, sure, that works. They didn't know anything about me, but they're like, sure, that works. So they got me a ticket. I came to the game. We went to practice the next day, and Coach Williams came up to me and was like, he's like, son, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about you, but they tell me you can play a little bit. So we're going to send somebody to watch you practice when we come to play Iowa State later in the year. And they did. They sent Neil Doherty to watch practice, and they thought I could play. And then they sent, I think, Matt Doherty out in the state tournament, and he liked what I did. And Coach was there the next day in the championship and offered me a scholarship. In those days, you couldn't talk. I don't know what the rules are now, but you couldn't talk to the family. But my dad was my high school coach, so they could talk to the high school coach, who was my dad. And Coach came to, I believe he came to Iowa Falls. They might have done it on the phone, but he came the next day and offered me a scholarship. And then at that point, you know, Kansas had gotten upset by Rhode Island that year, but had been, you know, #1 team for a couple of years. So that was the best program that had offered me a scholarship at that point. It was, you know, I'd already followed them. It's a great place. Cool. Only 5 hours away. My folks could still drive. So it's a long story, but all that kind of worked together to where Kansas was the spot for me.
Yeah. I mean, I never knew that, man. That even it's so funny how just a little small connection, that little small connection with Rafe that can kind of materialize into what transpired, man. So, hey, talk about, you know, playing under your dad, man. How did that go, man? How, you know, did he get on to you a lot, or did he kind of let you slide with some things, or was it like, man, he's coaching me even when we're home, man? Like these other kids get to go home and go to their parents and relax. This dude's still coaching me when I'm at home. Like, how was that, man? Talk about that experience.
I was really fortunate. He did a great job with me. I really wanted to play. I used to get dropped off at practices after school. So like when I was a young kid, I would get a ride to the high school and they'd have practice and I would just be at the gym, probably like your kids are when you're coaching. And I started out not being so into it, but eventually I started picking up a ball, and I kind of was able to develop the love on my own by being around it. He didn't push me at that age as a real young kid. And then, you know, I always had access to a gym. We would sit at home and we would watch games, and he would be able to drop little things that at the time I didn't realize, but probably a little more insight than other kids were getting. It was some of the more subtle things about the game. I would pick up a lot hearing him talk about his teams. Sometimes even like what not to do. Like if the team it was a bad team that year and he felt like the guys were kind of lazy or whatever it was, or we can't guard anybody or whatever. I kind of would learn like how you're not supposed to be, you know, and then you pick up like, well, you got to be focused. You have to play hard. You have to play defense. Like you have to pass and you can't shoot every time. You have to pass to the guy when they're open. So you kind of pick up a lot of small things you don't even realize. He was always there to help. Always had a good feel, not to press too hard. I was always pretty self-motivated, but you know, I just think I had a really good perspective on basketball and what it means to be a teammate and be a player on a team. And I had kind of an inside look that a lot of kids don't get. And those are the type of things I think I excelled at, and which allow me to progress as a player, even when the talent caught up to me and I had a good understanding of how to play. And that was a big benefit to me.
Oh, the talent. You said the talent caught up to you, huh? I don't know what talent caught up to you, man, but
it's always going to catch up to you somewhere. You know, like I'd say, you know, college, but then, you know, played against Kevin Garnett or Tim Duncan. It caught up to me and I kept going. So.
Hey, but no, man. Hey, you always been, man. I remember when I just I'm like, man, you were like the first like big man, and I was like, man, he can put it on the floor. He got bounce. He'll come bang on you. He'll hit you with the 3-ball, size you up, jab you, shot, lock up, beat up at the like everything, man. Like you had it. I mean, I'm not playing, Nick. Like you had it all. And I got a good question kind of leading into that here pretty soon. I'm just gonna get it out the way right now. So, how do you think your game would have translated if Coach Self was coaching at KU? How do you think your game could have worked out in his system?
I don't know. I think it would be a little different. I think both him and Coach Williams like to get the ball inside, especially back then. So I think I still would have gotten opportunities. I've seen a few of Coach Self's practices, much different structure. Yeah. I don't know. I like to think I would have done okay. It would have been different though, for sure. I think, you know, we would have played an entirely different way. Kansas was a lot more about pace and up tempo, getting up and down the floor, try to force turnovers, get out in passing lanes, pressure the ball. Coach Self was more like, you know, play at a high-low, reverse the ball, make sure you get a good shot. Defense a high priority. So I don't know. I would have liked to think I would have been able to do well in either system. Because like I said, both guys seem to like to get the ball inside, and that's what I was doing back then. So,
hey, I'll be honest, man. Yeah, I'll be honest, man. From having to play for both of them, like you would have killed in Coach Self if he would have had you with the post in 2 game, looking for that high low. Because in the 2 game, if you can catch it at the high post at the 3-point line, because you can square up, you can shoot the 3, you can drive it, you can make that pass, you can see like you would have ate. And then now, even though he's obviously kind of more 4 out 1 in, you definitely would have strived in that game, because You can still handle the ball, man. You can get the rebound and push it all the way up the court, make moves, drop dimes, get to the rim, Nick. Hey, Nick, I'm telling you, man, you was like one of the first players. I'm like, man, this dude, Nick, every time you got the ball, man, I just felt like it was always money, man.
You know what? I spent most of the day doing yard work. I put a shelf in my garage. I cleaned up after the dog. I gotta set up these podcasts or just calls, and you can just hype me up.
No,
I'm 40 years old now. I don't get any of this anywhere I go. And this is so good for my ego. It's like good for my mood. You're telling me about how great of a player I was. But thanks, man. I appreciate all that.
Hey, but I guarantee you, everybody listening in, they're gonna second that too. They got their hands up like, yeah, I second that. And there's a couple fans out there that they got some other stats that I don't even have. They're like, well, Nick has this stat too. He has this stat, and this stat. Come on, Nick, you're the man, dog. Get out of here.
It's fun to talk about the glory days.
It's that time of the year. Oh, shoot, sorry. It's that time of the year again, folks. Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bubble teams are making their final push for a bid, while the best teams in the country are gearing up for a deep run. Auto bids will be punched, slippers will be fit, and our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, are putting my listeners at the center of action. If you bet $4 on an underdog in a select game this week, that underdog wins you $256. That's right, $256. Here's how it works. Download the app and use promo code FIELD68 when you sign up. Scroll through the list of the selected underdogs, bet $4 on them to win, and cash $256 when they do. There's a better way for you to put your college hoops knowledge to use to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. So remember, that's code FIELD68. That's FIELD68 to turn $4 into $256. For a limited time only, must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. Go to DraftKings.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hey, so when was the last time you were in the field house?
I don't think I went. Did I go last year? Yeah, I went last year. Yeah, I've been to a couple games since I retired each season. I got into a couple last year. So, man, I saw him play Villanova at home. That was 2 years ago. Okay. I think I saw him last year against somebody. I can't remember, but I came to a couple games for sure. I always loved going. When I played in the NBA, sometimes I could get back All-Star break, but of course, when you're in the season, you can't get back much. I would be in Lawrence a lot though. When I played, so I got divorced in 2010, and my ex-wife is in Kansas City. And so I would have my daughter in the summers, but she would have to be back to Kansas City to start school in like August. So I'd have that window between August and when I had to be in OKC. So I'd spend a lot of time here, and I'd go work out at KU. And Coach Self has always been great. I didn't play for him, but all the guys, even he didn't play for, he's great about trying to reach out and keep you connected to the program. And so like that was always so cool. I would go in there and lift and work out on the court, 4 or 5 days a week for about a month for 7-8 years. So I felt pretty connected to the program still.
Well, you always know that's a second home for you, man. You got so many homes, man, because you're just a great stand-up guy that everybody loves you. And it's like, man, come on, Nick, you got a home here, man. Such a great
It's not
guy.
just me. I mean, they treat everybody really well. People in the weight room let me do my thing, and on the court, and Joni's still there. It's always cool to go back. Yep.
So how do you think, obviously with COVID, how do you think you would handle playing in small crowds this year? Like, man, it was 16,003 ready to go. And I'm pretty sure there's some other people trying to sneak in as well too. But how do you think, what do you think your mindset would be in a game? Like, I don't know how mine would be. What do you think, man?
It would definitely be much harder. I mean, I think at that age, you're still, if I compare it to an NBA season, you still have, you're playing about 2 games a week, maybe 3. You're still pretty excited to play. Yeah. But yeah, I just feel bad because they're not getting that amazing experience. Like, what playing in the field house is like incredible experience for a basketball player. And we were all fortunate to have it so many times. And I just feel bad for them. They're not getting that free year and they missed the tournament last year. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. And I think if I put myself in those kids' shoes, it would be hard, but I guess, it's great they're getting a chance to play, and it seems like it's been going okay. And so it's good they're getting a chance to play, but yeah, it's more just, I think it would have been fine. I think we would have been competitive. I think we would have been able to get excited and play, but it's just sad they're missing out on the other thing, which is so awesome.
It's nothing like it, man. The goosebumps, man. Everybody was talking about the goosebumps. Like, man, that's real. Like, sometimes I could be watching the game live on TV, sitting on my couch, and like it's a certain moment, and it's like, oh man, I got some goosebumps up in here.
Yeah, I do too. And I love when I go back now. I mean, they have all the sound system now and the video board. I'm old enough that they didn't have that stuff. And man, right before tip off, it gets adrenaline going for sure.
It does.
Hopefully they can get back next year.
And that's crazy. Like, we didn't really have, I think my red shirt senior year, that's when they got the new video board, and they were just like learning how to mess around with it in that year. It's like the dummy year. But like, we didn't have that stuff with like Coach Williams. We just had to be ready to go from the get-go, man. Yeah,
I mean, we had the band, and they did a good job, but it's not, but the fans, like, I guess the fans made all the noise. And I remember a couple times, like probably a Missouri game or one of the bigger games, walking from the towers, we stayed in the towers, walk across the parking lot, and you could hear them outside. You could hear them, and this is, hours before the game, and you see everybody lined up. And I miss having that excitement, nervous, adrenaline feeling. You can't recreate that anywhere else when you're done playing basketball. And man, it's fun. Just put yourself back and so excited to play. And lucky we had it, man.
Yeah, it's a blessing, man. Hey, so I mentioned in the intro your standing ovation from Dick Vitale. You had 24 points, 23 rebounds in that game. Were you surprised when Dickie V, stood up cheering for you when you checked out? Did you expect that on your last night that, Dickie V would give you that standing ovation?
I think at the time I wasn't even aware that it happened, and I think I ran by him, and the game was not over. I found out with a few minutes, so I was still pretty locked in. That was cool of him, very nice of him, and I don't know, it was a great game. Royal Ivy became one of my teammates in the NBA, and he's one of my really good friends. We talk about that game a lot. But just a great college basketball game. We needed a win. We had lost 2 in a row, which hardly ever happened to us. I think we had the Arizona game. We were up by 15 and lost by 15. And then we lost at Colorado. It was like the first time we had lost to them. And
got a mini gut check after that.
Yeah, we had a lot of expectations.
Hey, I know, Nick, I don't mean to cut you off. We had a mini gut check about that, and Mike, Mike
that's right,
talked about that as well too. Because you and Kirk, y'all had all them plus points. Yeah, you had like 200-some plus points, man. But
it's a bad system.
You guys had those plus points, and you could have plussed out of every one of those. But you guys, that shows like the great teammates that you guys were. You guys would still run those with some of the guys that didn't have those plus points, man. And I still appreciate that. Like, I'm like, man, these dudes they got all the plus points.
It's a bad system because I don't know, the listeners probably don't have no idea what we're talking about. But basically, you can gain maybe have you talked about it on here before? Well, anyway,
we,
you can
talked about it a little bit on the
you
with
can
Mike Lee. Yep.
you can gain what is called plus points for doing things are good throughout the season. There's a lot of different ways you can gain them, and then you can use them to get out of running at the end of practice. And it's a bad system though, because the guys who play the most have the most opportunity to get the plus points. And when coach is really mad, it's because of how the team played, and it's those guys' fault they didn't play well. And then you got all the guys who don't play. They don't have a chance to earn them, and they got to run everything. Like the walk-ons, those poor guys, they didn't even get in the game that coach is mad about, but they got no way to earn the plus points either, so they got to run everything. So I don't know. I always tried to like bounce that run when I could, and if I was dying, to take a couple. But yeah, those days, man, that fear of getting on the line is real. You know, I was texting with a few guys when the thing happened this year in Carolina, where the kids got in trouble, and you know, I don't want to rag on those kids. I don't know what happened, but I was just telling a couple of guys I played with, I had fear reading that because there's like a real trauma of what may or may not have. I don't know how he handles things now, but it would have been scared to death to go to practice and get on that line. And there's a real trauma there, I think.
Yeah, man.
Just that fear of things going sideways and having to run for, you know, however long the rest of practice is. But
when Mike and I talked, the first thing we would do is, because, you know, before every practice, we had the practice plans in the locker room so we can know, get your mind right. This is what we're working on. First thing we always would look at, we wouldn't look at nothing else. We go right to the bottom, running.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What time would we know? Yeah.
What coach would say, though, it would just be like question mark. I forgot. It was kind of like a question mark, so we never knew what it was going to be. We're like, oh, man, what's he thinking, man? Mm-hmm. Well, what's the running going to be like?
Right. I mean, we were in incredible shape now looking back. Like,
yeah, for real.
Oh, man. Like the
conditioning,
all that.
For that pain, man, I'd take it, man, to be in shape like that again. Yeah, now, I'm like, I don't move as much, man. I'm like, geez, we were in some good shape right now. Right. You try to make me do a 33 right now. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's talk. You were a beast in the national championship game versus Syracuse. 19 points, 23 rebounds. Killer rebounder, man. Hey, just unstoppable. Do you ever think about that game, and have you watched it since it's happened?
I always think about it.
Hey, Keith said, I haven't.
Yeah, no. I haven't watched it either. I always think about it. It's the toughest game for me. It really, really was hard for me for a while. You know, I think I've learned to deal with stuff like that. I have a better perspective. Just what, you know, basketball is incredibly important, but I have, you know, I've learned to not have all my self-worth tied up in how I play basketball. So, you know, I've grown a lot, but for a long time, that was really, really tough. You know, for me personally, I felt like I played well, played as hard as I can, but of course, missing so many free throws was something that was really hard for me to deal with. And, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I think I was who I was in those moments, and you know, I gave everything I could to it. And also the game went about as bad as it could for us. You know, they got off to such a huge lead. I made a ton of threes. We got down early. It was hard to get back. That was a great team, but we weren't very deep, you know? And so I don't know how many, or coach chose to play. I don't know. We didn't play that many guys. Keith fouled out. I fouled out. Like it was a tough night. Obviously they earned it. They beat us. But it was a tough one. And I think for years, it's hard to even watch years after teams win the championship because you wanted it so bad, you know? Yeah. And it's just, that's part of playing when you're able to play well and have games that are at such high stakes, and you lose, they're going to hurt more. But you also got to experience all the great times too. And those were more exciting. So I'm proud of everything in college. I look back on those games and are proud of them, but it still hurts a little bit. But we, you know, got to move on and grow up and learn to deal with stuff.
That's right, man. Hey, so I mean, we all know, you know, Kay, you changed forever after that game. Were you surprised, like the rest of us, I mean, we were surprised when Coach Williams decided to leave for North Carolina.
Yeah, I was. It makes sense now, I think, after the
Yeah.
fact. But at the time, it all seemed like such a big deal to us. It was we were in the middle of it, and Coach was really important to all of us in the school and all the people who love Kansas basketball. So yeah, I was surprised, and it was I'm sure it was a difficult transition for you guys who are still there. We quickly moved on to trying to get ready for the draft and stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're all lucky that it worked out the way it did, with Coach Self being able to take over and be really good and be really successful. And it kind of, everybody was able to do well. Coach did well in Carolina, and you guys did well. I mean, you guys probably had the hardest thing to transition in the middle of your career, which is tough, but it all worked out, I think.
Yeah, because when Coach Self first got there, man, we were like, Keith, all those guys, Keith, like we took it hard, man. We like, when Coach Self, I feel sorry for Coach Self. I probably need to send him a message after this. Say, man, Coach, I just appreciate you guys dealing with us. Because we were some little butt heads, man, and to him, because, we were just like, he comes in, we're like, man, we want Coach Williams. Like, he used to do it this way. Why would we listen? Why we want to do it your way? We just beat you guys in the Elite Eight. Like, your way. We want to do it Coach Williams' way. This is the way we do it here. And Coach Self is just, that's why I appreciate it. He's just like, all right, the way you guys did it's cool, but I'm gonna do it my way. And he eventually got that into us. But man, that was a weird experience. It was.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all kids at that time.
Yeah.
So we all do stuff we wish we would have done differently. We're all kind of embarrassed sometimes of the things we thought or said or did. And yeah, I mean, I think when you had success, and it'd be hard to switch over, and Coach Self did his job and eventually got everybody playing well, and that's the way it goes, man.
That's the way it is, man.
Yep.
Hey, so you were number 12 pick overall in the draft to the Seattle Supersonics. Mm-hmm. At what point in your career did you know, man, I could be a first round pick? And not only a first round pick, a lottery pick.
I thought I would have a chance to make it to the NBA when I went to KU, just because, playing at Kansas, they got great players, and I knew I'd have a shot. I think, I played a lot as a freshman, played a lot as a sophomore. I didn't think about the NBA. I think some of that is just the environment. Guys didn't think about it as early. I mean, I always thought about it in terms of what I want to do. That's where I want to end up. But I never thought like, oh, I'm ready or I'm going to come out or anything like that. After my junior year, I think we looked at it. Coach at that time would kind of talk to people he knew and tell you where he thought you'd go. And the kind of news was like maybe like late first round, possible second round. And for me, I was kind of relieved because I knew I really wanted to come back. And I knew in my mind, I wasn't guaranteed first round, I wasn't going to risk it. I wanted to have a guaranteed contract. And so it was a no-brainer for me. I think Kirk had a tougher decision. I think he probably would have been picked in the lottery after our junior year, at least the top half of the first round. I know he really went back and forth on it, but I don't know. I thought I could have a good year. I was confident I was going to work hard and confident I was going to play well, and thought that I could just improve where I was. And I really wanted to come back. I wanted to try winning the championship with the team, and all that stuff was really important to me. So I would say probably my junior year, I knew I'd have a good chance, but even in my, fifth or sixth year in the NBA, I still felt like, man, I could be out of here any second. I think I have, I don't know if it's from coming from a small town or what, but I always had to be convinced I was good enough to play. I think I knew I was a good player, but I always had a fear of, if I don't do everything right, I'm not going to be good enough. And like I said, I think when I was a kid, the best player from my high school ever played Division II. It didn't seem like you could just play in the NBA. I always wanted to. Like, if you asked me, what do you want to do? I'd say, I want to play in the NBA. But it didn't seem like you really could, And I never saw anybody come close. And, like, even we were even more isolated back then. I didn't have a phone with Instagram. I couldn't see other kids.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
kids in Chicago and New York and LA are better than me. I know they are. Like Kansas City, you know, like we would come to like I didn't play I didn't play outside the state. I didn't play anywhere. And I started growing. I started playing AAU and I started like playing against better competition. And I started to realize I could play. But I always kind of had that mindset, like I got to do everything right. And I think it helped me to be prepared. It helped me to work hard and be focused. I think it hurt me at times with confidence, especially in the NBA. And so I was always like, you know, it's a confidence versus like, you know, the other thing, which is like really being motivated. I was always self-motivated, and it took me a long way. So that was always kind of my mindset. And so I think even at the end, I was never like, oh, I got this. Like I'm going to be a top pick.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, that part served me well, but then, you know, some of the downside of that is not always having the most confidence.
Yeah. You mentioned that preparation, man. And, you know, that's key, man. Can you even just elaborate a little bit more about that? Cause you said that little 5 to 6 year stretch where you're like, man, I could be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was in the back of my mind, but obviously you knew that was in the back of your mind and that could get you could possibly be out. But obviously that kind of puts you in, you know, I got my back against the wall and I'm going to come out swinging like so. And that comes, so like, what did you do preparation wise to stay? Because you were a vet, like you got your jersey, first ever player to ever get their jersey retired for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like that's a huge accomplishment, man. What are the little things that you did to keep you prepared throughout those times where you knew, man, I could be gone at any time?
Mm-hmm. I think I would do a good job of taking care of myself and handling my own business. That was a good thing about college is I got an education on like how to train in the weight room with Jonas. And I really felt like that was an important thing. I went into college saying like, if I'm gonna play in the NBA, I got to get much stronger and I got to get more athletic and I got to do all that stuff right. And so I thought Jonas was really good. Our strength coach we had in college, and
shout out Jonas.
What's that?
I said shout out Jonas.
Yeah, shout out to Jonas for sure. Even though he threw a med ball at you one time.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah. Oh my.
We don't have to go there. I'll get sidetracked.
Hey, I know. Hey, I'm sure. I'm still working on Miles getting him on. He's a busy guy, but I'm sure he'll love to tell.
I tried to wrestle him once, and he pinned me. I tried to wrestle him once in the Anschutz on the turf, and he pinned me down and had my face on the turf and was rubbing my face on the turf. So he got me too. I think that was maybe before you got there, where I thought I was getting strong. But anyway, I kind of learned to handle my own thing. So when I would have summers, I could, you know, be responsible. I would train, I would work out, I would get on the court. I just knew I had to take care of myself. A lot of guys struggle with that. And I think another thing for me is I could figure out ways to be effective on the court and figure out ways that the coach wanted to keep me in the game, even if it wasn't scoring, stuff like that. And I saw value in that.
Did that come from watching film or?
I think
just talking with the coaches.
I think it's just a feel of how to play. I think playing for Coach Williams, getting really good habits, you know, all those defensive stations, like there was a right way and a wrong way to do everything in that system. And you were taught over and over again. You were graded defensively, goods, bads. You didn't deny one pass away. That's a bad. You didn't box out. That's a bad. Yeah. You know, you had a certain way you're supposed to, you know, the 4 and the 5 has to get the ball out right out of the net. Like you got to do it, or it's not always like this big thing where you're getting screamed at, but it's like, you remember everybody on the line, Jeff didn't box out, or he didn't deny one pass away, and you just jog to the foul line and back. It's not hard, but mentally it's that cue that like, oh, I did it wrong. It's like it's classical learning, you know? And so doing that stuff over and over and having really good habits, and also the ability to stay locked in and to stay focused. Like, I think I got a lot of that at college. And then when I got to the NBA, I had this ability, like, all right, what am I supposed to do here? Like I had ability to focus, do the thing, be in the moment, and continue to play the next play, and like I'm supposed to sprint into a screen on the side for Ray Allen, like, and my mind says like I got to do it, or I'm coming out or whatever, and so I sprint into the screen, and maybe I sprint in a little harder, and my defender's a little bit further behind, and then when Ray comes off, he's butt naked because my defender's back because I did a good job setting him up. Like little things like that. I always tried to do right. I always thought that was important to try to do those things right. And it, all of a sudden it was like Nate McMillan or whoever my coach, it was like, well, I want to keep him in the game longer. The defense is going good. He's doing good stuff. He's getting offensive rebound, whatever it was. And then you stay in longer, then you get more offensive opportunities. Like you get drop offs for dunks, and all of a sudden you got like 12 and 8 and you feel good about it and everybody feels good about it and you get more time. So I don't know, just like all my history considered, I think put me in a good place where I could figure out how to be effective at the pro level.
That's awesome, man. It's been fun watching you in that journey, man. So talk about going from Seattle to Oklahoma City. Like, what was that like, man?
It was kind of crazy. It doesn't happen in pro sports very often, team moving. The team was sold to the Oklahoma City group, I think in 2006, and we ended up playing 2 more seasons where the Oklahoma City group owned the team in Seattle. They were trying to get arena built. And there was, every story was about the arena and is the team going to leave? And you're getting asked about it constantly. We were starting to struggle as a team. We were rebuilding. So it wasn't a great basketball environment those couple of years. I think I had learned from good pros before and kind of learned how to be professional at that point and just do it and be happy that I'm able to play in the league and know that I got to do everything I can for my future and try to just do my job. And so I was able to do that, but it wasn't the best environment to play in. And then there's a court case and everything. I mean, this is a whole long separate podcast, but it's pretty interesting. But there was a court case in July where the city was suing the team to hold them to their lease because they had a lease in Key Arena, and they settled at the last second before the judge ruled, and they bought out their lease, and the team was going to move. So relatively quick move. And we moved to Oklahoma City, and I didn't really know what to expect, but the New Orleans Hornets had played there after the hurricane for a couple of years, and they had great fans. We'd play there and the fans would be really good. And so I felt like we'd have good fan support, and fans were great from day one and welcomed us open arms. And the organization did a really good job at that time. We've got these great young players, and they invested a lot in the organization and the player experience and development, and we're able to have this great kind of rise to being a really good team for a long time.
Yeah. Hey, so you talked about the fans though. The fans, because the sixth man, right? Mm-hmm. AKA the sixth man. What would you say? Because you played obviously in the best college basketball venue ever, the Mecca, and the fans and how it was. Like, what NBA arena kind of mimics that KU type atmosphere as far as fan engagement?
None of the NBA.
It's Oklahoma.
Yeah, but none of the NBA ones do. It's different because of the building. Like the people who've been lucky enough to go to the field house for a game. They're selling those bleachers. They're selling a seat on those bleachers, and they're packing people in. And the NBA arenas, you don't have that feel because there's more space and like this. I don't know what the square footage or the cubic feet of Allen Fieldhouse is, but it's much smaller than whatever would hold 16,000 seats in an NBA arena. Yeah. So that feel of just being packed in, there's nothing like it. There's nothing in the NBA like it. The Oklahoma City fans, I think, during my career were the best in the league and the most consistent in the league. The great thing about it is we would have these games that are normally, you don't have great crowds. It'll be like a Tuesday in February against maybe a non-playoff team, but we had like a great crowd that night. We'd have these consistent crowds that other teams in the league just wouldn't get. And then the playoffs would be a different level. The playoff atmosphere is comparable. You know, again, it doesn't feel the same, but it's comparable to Allen Fieldhouse in terms of how loud they get. And you go on a run and you get that feeling where it's just so loud you can't hear anything. And they're great and they're really consistent. And you go everywhere in the community. It's kind of like college. It's kind of like Lawrence, where you feel like everybody's into it. I know there's a lot of people that aren't, but you feel like everybody's into the Thunder, and it's fun to be part of.
So 15 years, obviously, man. How important was it for you to stay? You know, I'm going out a Thunder, man. How important was that? Was that kind of on your bucket list? Like, man, I want to make sure I stay with this team. No, don't go anywhere else. This is where I want to retire out at. How important was that to you?
You know, it kind of worked out that way where, you know, I didn't set out to say, you know, I want to play with one team no matter what. And if I have an opportunity to go somewhere, I'm not going to, you know, it wasn't like that. It was always, I had a niche with the team. I had a role. I liked what was going on. I liked how I was treated. I felt like I got offered fair contracts.
Yeah.
There was no reason to go anywhere else. And it was like I appreciated what I had there. And I knew it's not guaranteed if I go somewhere else, I'm going to have that. And so every time it came to make those decisions, it was the best decision to make. And
that's awesome.
And it was really cool because, and then, you know, as our team got better, I definitely wanted to see it through. You know, it would have killed me to go somewhere else and then we finally won it. I mean, obviously we didn't get it done. So that meant a lot to me too, to see it through with those guys. We had a lot of continuity with those teams. A lot of the guys would come back, and even in the short amount of time since then, it's changed so much where it's really hard to recreate that now, especially with the role players. It's just the system doesn't really allow for guys to be able to stay that long anymore. So it was cool. And, you know, for me to be able to be a bench player, but be able to be in one place for so long, it's such a luxury. So many guys in the league, it doesn't work out. They're going to bounce around to multiple teams, and they're going to have to prove themselves where they are, find their own way, meet new people, move their families. So I was very fortunate, and the coolest thing about it, I was able to form like these really long lifelong friendships, connections with players, staff, and the fans, and have a home. You know, that's really rare in the NBA. So I've been fortunate.
You're a proven story, man, that really great things happen to really, really, really good people, man. So it obviously definitely deserving of that. Finishing up, Nick. Hey, so lastly, man, you were able to play with so many all-stars in the beginning of their careers. Kevin Durant, Westbrook, James Harden. Were you able to tell at that time, young when they were young guys in the league, man, these guys are going to be special?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you see it every day. You see these guys every day, and we're playing together and working, and you see them growing. So like while you're in it, you don't always see it up close where they're headed. But I mean, Kevin's ability was off the charts, like his talent when we got him. You know, they used to always say, oh, this big, like it'd be a 7-footer or a 6'10" guy. They'd always say like, oh, he handles it like a guard, but they didn't really handle it like a guard. They were like a Garnett type. So it's like a pretty good ball handler, can pass, can do a lot of things, a versatile, but still a big, you know, quote unquote. Kevin was the first guy I saw that was that size that really moved like a perimeter player. He'd handle and pick and roll, you know, he'd come off of pin downs. And so like you could see that was just different. So when he's doing a drive, you know, like a normal like attack, a closeout drive left, all of a sudden he's just at the rim. He's 7 feet tall. Like you're used to seeing 6'5" guys do that. And so it's shocking to see that type of stuff. Yeah. Like there'd be like little things that would be shocking, and it'd be his size, or you know, he's switching on a big and the guy's backing him down, and you know, Kevin's getting knocked back because he's thin, but like the guy can't go over him because he's like 7 feet tall, you know. So you could see the ability, and you also could see the work ethic. He put in like his individual skill work. Like he put in a ton of time, and he had already had that before he got to the NBA. And it was actually, it sounds crazy, but the player development program, a lot of the individual work, that was kind of new to have a whole program for guys. Like when I first got in the league, it was kind of like we practiced, and if you wanted to get shots, you could grab a guy and like get extra shots, but they didn't have as much plan for individual work. So Kevin was like all over that. Russell was like different because I didn't know anything about him really. I knew they'd seen Kevin a lot in college, and everyone had been talking about him. But Russell was kind of a surprise pick that he went as high as he did to us. And like, again, you could see the ability right away, just the athleticism, the force he played with. He was a little bit wild, and he's still a little bit wild, but he had like this kind of crazy motor and just ability. And James too. I mean, we were a better team when we got James. That was our first year making the playoffs, and he was just such a nice mix with those guys. He has a good feel for how to play. He can pass. He played in the second unit with us, and I had a really good feel of how to play with him off pick and roll, off drags. And, we were doing some stuff that was, backdoor cuts and dribble handoffs and stuff that now seems pretty basic. If we were playing nowadays, I think we would have been able to do even more of that stuff. But I don't know, all those guys are incredible, but they all work really hard, and they all would set the tone for the whole building, because those guys would come in, they'd be in early, they'd be in doing their individual work early, and it became cool to like work really hard and do like, that's what they did. That's what and then we get younger players, and that's what everybody wanted to do. And so they really led the culture with that. And it was fun. It's fun to look back and have all those experiences. And, we had a fun group, get a little crazy at times, but we always competed, went toe to toe with teams, and we had a lot of good experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, Nick, man, we're gonna wrap it up, man, with some quick fire questions, man.
Oh wow, okay.
Like 4 questions for you. If you were in Lawrence for 24 hours, where would you go eat?
Gosh, I bet all the places are closed now that it's been 20 years or whatever. 18 years. Man, that's a tough one. Geez, what's the pizza place where they cut it?
Pizza
it's on
Shuttle?
Matt. No,
not the Pizza Shuttle.
Geez.
Not was it?
They have them in Kansas City too. All the fans, all the people listening are so frustrated. I don't remember this. I'll pass. I'm gonna Google it. And I'll get back
are
to
you looking it up on your phone right now? There you go. No, it wasn't off of Mass Street, was it?
Yeah, it was back then.
Oh.
Papaquinos.
Yeah, Papaquinos.
I apologize.
Yeah, Papaquinos. Okay. All right. So, where was your favorite place away game to play in the Big 12?
It was great to win at Iowa State. We lost the first 2 years, and those were terrible experiences. Kirk and I would get booed every time we touched the ball. Iowa State wasn't great when we were in high school, and then they got really good, and they won the league those first years. But to beat them at the end was fun. To win at Missouri was good. That was a tough place, though. So I think those two stick out of places that were really tough, and then when you won, you felt really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So if you could have played with one Jayhawk before you got to KU and after you graduated KU, who would it be and why?
That's a good question. I think before it'd probably be Paul Pierce. I mean, I think to me,
a lot of guys said that.
Probably the most talented guy, kind of the new, Danny Manning probably was, he would be up there. Of course, Wilt way back. It's almost a different era though.
Yeah.
I think probably Paul Pierce would be one that would stick out. And since then, I really liked Frank Mason. I always thought he was a competitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been a lot. They've had.
Frank Mason.
Yeah, they've had great teams, but I always really liked him as a competitor. I always.
Yeah.
You remind me of Kirk a little bit. I just like guys that grind, or I like the grinders, guys that compete and
Yes,
play hard
sir.
and battle. So that's the first one that jumped in my head, but there's many others.
Hey, one thing too that people don't know, man. You still got the freestyle game, man. You retired from freestyle?
There's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful we didn't have Instagram or these places where I could have been on video doing some of the stuff I was doing back then. I'm so thankful. And
Oh man, you had nice freestyle though, Nick. Hey, because Mike was like, hey man, all I just know he was talking about before games. Kurt used to be doing this thing over in the corner. Nick would always be listening to Biggie in the corner. He didn't want to talk to nobody. He just listened to Biggie. Like, hey, you used to be in the flow session, man. Like, yeah, Nick got flows, man.
I would find a sweet spot in the night. If we would be out, there'd be that sweet spot where the stars would align, and I'd sit there, and I sometimes could say something that was pretty funny. I'm just glad none of it's on tape. I mean, I hope
you guys don't know, man.
I hope
Nick
it's not on tape.
he has some good freestyle flows off the top of the head. They was legit too. Hey, so if you last one, Nick, if you had to play for one Big 12 coach that wasn't Coach Williams, who would it be? And why?
That's a good question, man. Like when we played?
Yeah, when you played.
I mean, Texas was always good. Royale, he loves Rick Barnes. That would have been cool, probably. Quinn Snyder's been a great coach in the NBA. He probably would have had a lot to offer back then. Yeah, I'd say maybe those two guys.
Okay.
Either one of those, yeah.
I love it, man. They're great picks, man.
That's a good question.
Well, that's it for today, Jayhawk Nation. Thanks for tuning in to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate, 5 stars, review, and hit the subscribe button on iTunes or anywhere else you get your podcast from. Nikki C's, man, I appreciate you, man, taking the time out of your day. I'm going to hold you up to that beer sometime. Hopefully, we get this pandemic under control, but we can get out on the patio. I got my first shot of the vaccine.
Oh, nice.
Last week, so I'll be waiting for the next
Congratulations.
one.
Yeah.
Thanks again, man. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you. I pray, and thank you for all those nice things you said about me.
Oh, man. Hey, it's all facts, man.
A lot.
I wish I was making sorry I'm not making that stuff up, man. It's all true, man. So
thank you.
Thank you for being who you are, man.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun on here. I appreciate it.
Brother. You betcha, man. Tell the family I say hello, man.
Same to you.
Tell Michael I say hello too, man.
I will.
All right. Have a good one, man.